Hello, everyone. Today on Courageous Custody, fighting the mental instability narrative when your co-parent claims you're crazy. Hi, I am Renee Rodriguez.
And I'm Atra Tarfa.
Reminder, we are not giving legal advice or therapy.
Yes, and if feeling triggered, please take care of yourself.
Today, we are going to talk about common mental health accusations, how to document stability, overcoming stigma in court, and through a trauma lens, what are you going through and how to view and handle that? It is the first week of May, which means it is Mental Health Awareness Month. This is a perfect time to talk about a serious issue many protective moms face when your co-parent weaponizes mental health against you in family court. False claims of instability are one of the most common tactics abusers use to discredit protective parents. So today we're breaking down why courts sometimes overlook abuse claims, what evidence actually holds weight, and the steps you can take when you feel unheard. So the common mental health accusations that I hear, and I know Atra, when we're working with our clients, we hear this from them so much. They're being accused of anxiety. They're being accused of postpartum depression. They're being accused of Munchausen by proxy, anger issues, aggression, crazy, emotionally unstable, bipolar disorder, even though it's not diagnosed, enmeshment, which of course then leads to parental alienation. And all of these things lead to unfit mother. And that's the big thing that they're trying to go up against, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We hear all of those all the time. No understanding at all about trauma.
All the time. It's crazy. That's what's crazy is how often we hear these accusations. Why are these accusations particularly harmful in the context of abusive co-parenting? Where, the abuser is using it to distract from their own behavior. Many times they're describing their own behavior, right? They absolutely play into gender stereotypes. They're always looking for the things that you want to say about women, that you want to say about moms, right? And they can absolutely be a form of post-separation abuse. This is something that they're using the court system to abuse. They're using these accusations to abuse. And then that's gaslighting as well. But also problematic is saying these things and saying it to the children. This is very, very traumatizing to children, right? Hearing that their mom is crazy, that their mom might not be right about them going to the doctor, whatever it might be. So I think what becomes important is, how do you document this, right? How do you bring this into the court and go up against it? The best way to protect yourself against false claims is to proactively document stability. Here's what can make a difference. Medical and therapy records. So, if it's okay, talk to your lawyer. If your lawyer says, yes, we have a judge that doesn't stigmatize therapy. If anything, they support therapy. They think that makes you a healthier parent. Get those therapy records, get the doctor's records, keep records of your visits. Right? And courts take third-party professional opinions very seriously. And one of the things that I'm always talking about is they see mom and they see dad, or parent A and parent B. They see lawyer A and they see lawyer B, and all they see is a bunch of bias. So they're not going to believe any of those people as much as they do that third-party professional. So it's important to get records of visits. And it's also important to be aware of HIPAA. We want to be protective of doctors' records, but to keep records of the visits that you're going, I think that that's really an important thing to do. Consistent employment and housing. I know the problem is a lot of these moms are stay-at-home moms because they start out that way and then they stay with the kids, or their co-parent decided that they shouldn't get a job even if they wanted to get back into the workforce. Now's the time to get the employment and to show that you have had your job forever if you've had it, right? That you have stayed with jobs for a decent amount of time before you moved on and there was a reason to move on. That you have consistent housing, that whenever you guys moved around, it wasn't because of anything that you did. It was because your co-parent wanted you to move, right? So that stable job and living situation really does demonstrate reliability. We're always talking about text and email communication. So keep interactions with your co-parent calm and neutral as much as possible. Whereas if they're hostile and they're erratic, that's going to reflect on them, not you. So we want that. So we don't want that back and forth. And then the parenting plans, the parenting logs, show up for your kiddos, make sure everything's on time, document all of that, but also keep records of the missed exchanges and concerning behaviors from the other parent. It's important. Now, If you feel like the court is believing crap, the stuff that he's throwing at you, all of these mental health accusations, the number one thing you have to do is stay professional in court, which is so hard, right? Atra, and I know you're about to get into, how do you do that, right? The way that you're showing up matters. Your demeanor matters, right? And work with experts. We talked about the experts that you want. You want the therapists, you want to have the doctors, but I'm a huge fan of having people get their own private psych assessments. Sometimes the court has you do it with a court-appointed professional. And these people are really used to the way family court works. They know all these family court people. Find somebody who doesn't work in the court system. Find somebody who's going to do an absolute true and clear psych assessment that has nothing to do with all of their friends at the court, right? Have that there so that you can show, well, I don't know what the court professional is coming up with all of this stuff that they're coming up with, but I had a psych assessment done and it showed no psychological problems. So I've got something that says I have no problems and I have something that says I do. So we don't really have solid proof that I have all these mental health problems that I'm being accused of, do we? Right? And also you want to be very clear about what you're asking for. I think a lot of our moms come in wanting to prove how the other parent is bad. And that's a big focus of what we do with our clients. Obviously, we're looking for the evidence. We're looking for what they need to show who their co-parent is behind closed doors. But the narrative that you're bringing forth, I think it has to be why you're providing the best environment for your kiddos. You want to be child-led. Who are you as a parent? How are your kids thriving under your parenting, right? And you got to keep going. It's discouraging. There's a lot of despair that's felt when the system fails to see the truth, but we do know that persistence matters. We know this. Many protective parents succeed not because the system works perfectly, no doubt about that, but because they refuse to give up, And I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with throwing in the towel when you feel like that's right for your kiddos. And when you agree, Atra, it's like you got to do what's best for your family. But don't give up. All right. Don't engage in users' games. They want you to react emotionally so they can point and say, yeah, look at her. She's unstable. Remember how I talk about provoke and record, provoke and record. They will provoke and needle you as much as possible until they get to a point where they're basically like, you know what? I'm going to keep pushing because one day she's finally going to break. And we do see this, and it's incredibly effective in court because as soon as the mom finally starts to use her voice, at least that's how she feels, right? That's what she thinks she's doing. She's actually stepping right in it because he pulls out and he starts recording, and that's what the court sees. So we have to be careful of that. Stay consistent. When they're trying to trigger you, find what you need to stay calm. And you have to let their behavior speak for itself. A narcissist will eventually reveal their true nature. Your job is to make sure the court has the right evidence to see it and that you haven't shown up in a way that will allow them to say what they desperately want to say, which is that both parents are the problem. Therefore, let's just do a 50-50 parenting plan because they're both a problem, right? Let your co-parent, your abusive co-parent, be the only problem. But let's talk about what this looks like through a trauma lens.
Yeah, just sitting here thinking about, how we say all the time, you are evidence as well, how you show up in the court. Our clients, if you're out there listening to Renee and I, yes, document everything. You're going to present evidence to the court, but how you show up every single day in front of the court, when you're getting deposed, in front of any sort of court-appointed expert, all that matters, and you are evidence. And one of the most common and insidious tactics in high conflict custody battles is when a co-parent tries to paint the protective parent as unstable or crazy. And that weaponization of mental health can lead to court bias, damage credibility, and even make you question yourself. And so when we speak to this from an internal family systems lens, this attack doesn't just affect your legal case. It activates really deep parts that may already hold fears of not being believed, being seen as too much, or even feeling unworthy of being a parent. And so why does the crazy narrative work in family court, right? It's a strategy. Just because it's a strategy that they're using doesn't mean that it's true, but it is a tactic. And family court is often biased against emotional expression, especially in moms. We see it all the time. The system tends to favor the parent who appears calm, rational, in control, while dismissing genuine distress as an instability. So your co-parent may be gaslighting you, using past struggles, emotional reactions, or therapy records against you. They may be projecting their own issues. Well, but he does it, right? And so you already feel a little quote unquote crazy, because exactly what's being thrown at you is what that other person is doing. So accusing you of being unstable to deflect from their own behaviors. And like Renee said, exploiting that gender bias, the courts may label women as too emotional while excusing men's anger or control as protective parenting. Because for men, being angry and protective is a gender bias. It's allowed. So understanding the parts that get activated when inside, when you're accused of being any of these things, crazy or any of that, certain protector parts may rush in. There may be this fight response, right? This known trauma fight response. The fighter, we can call it, wants to prove that that's not true, or that we're sane, and just to defend you fiercely or lash out in frustration, because this often happens. This is the pattern, on and on and on. Or there may be a freeze response where there's just a shutdown or feelings of powerless or resigned to being misunderstood. And then there's also maybe a self-doubter that pops in that wonders if these accusations hold some truth. Maybe there's a part that replays past mistakes that you've made, because nobody is perfect, or emotional moments that, oh, maybe I could have handled better. And so those parts maybe step into doubt and maybe actually align with what the abuser is saying. So it's important to be aware of those activated parts that come in to protect us. And then there are these really vulnerable parts that may carry some shame about those past struggles. If ever in the past you ever did struggle with anxiety or depression or trauma, this attack can really dig into those own wounds. And of course, fear of losing your child. The terror of being seen as an unfit parent can be really overwhelming, especially when it's a lie. So how do we stay in self-energy? How do we defend ourselves effectively in a way that is assertive but not aggressive? One of the ways that we can do this is we need to learn how to regulate before reacting. The goal is not to prove that you're not crazy, but to show up in self-energy calm, clear, and confident. So instead of fighting and trying to prove that you're not crazy, show up, be the evidence of the reason why you're not. So before responding to allegations, pause and check in with these parts of you that may come up. The fight parts, the self-doubting parts, the parts that want to just freeze and lock up. What emotions are surfacing? What past wounds feel active right now? And the other thing, especially when it comes to those messages on those communication portals, we want to document. We don't want to debate back and forth. Oftentimes, you'll respond with a quick topic question, and then you'll get back 5 paragraphs that have nothing to do with the topic, right, Renee? We see that all the time. So we want to make sure that you keep a clear record of false accusations, your parenting decision, or any attempts that you have at cooperation. Don't debate whether or not you've cooperated, whether or not you've made good parenting decisions. Just document it. And so stick to those facts, because those facts will help you to overcome those emotions. People talk about the acronym for fear, right? False evidence appearing real. So when we can sit there and understand that we're going to stick to facts over the emotions, the court officials will respond better to those evidence than those emotional appeals. And then we can also watch for traps. If your co-parent sort of pokes the bear or provokes you into reacting emotionally, because remember, that's part of their strategy. It is a tactic. So they can go, aha, see, this is where she's quote unquote crazy. They may use that as proof against you. So avoid defensive over explanations. Instead, respond with calm, factual statements. Instead of saying, I'm not crazy, you're just manipulative. Try saying, I make thoughtful parenting decisions. I have professional support when needed, or something along those lines that's very calm, that responds, but it doesn't engage. And as Renee said, having professional allies, having a therapist, a parenting coach, or an IFS practitioner who can help with you documenting your stability and self-awareness, that can be invaluable. And if your co-parent weaponizes therapy records, you can reframe it as that I take mental health seriously and I use tools to be the best parent that I can possibly be. When we're able to strengthen our inner system, we're able to withstand attacks. So we want to work with parts that feel wounded. If those vulnerable parts feel abandonment, or that you're going to lose a child, or unworthiness of being a good mom, give those parts compassion and not shame. No judgment. Find what your internal anger is. And when those accusations arise, visualize your core self being anchored, steady, clear, and unmoved by any distortions or false narratives against you. And really detach from the need for validation from your ex. The court may not fully see the truth right away, but your self-led presence really speaks louder than words. So being labeled as unstable, that's painful, and it can be really infuriating, and it doesn't define you. So when we stay regulated, when we use strategic responses, and we care for the parts of us that feel attacked, you can protect yourself better and your relationship with your child, which is what matters most. Didn't you say so, Renee?
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, well, we have some great takeaways for this week. Renee, do you want to go over some of the takeaways? Because that's all we've got for this week's episode of Courageous Custody.
Yes. So remember, courts rely on documentation, not emotion. Keep records that prove your stability and don't play into the crazy narrative. The court is really looking for that. Stay calm, focused, and fact-driven. Abusers are charming in court, but consistency and truth will very often outlast their manipulation.
Next week, join us again, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here. Like or follow us or bookmark us so you can get the notifications, because what we're talking about might catch you right when you need it.
So leave your comments below. And until next week, stay strong, stay informed, and keep fighting for what matters most. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
This is great.